On this occasion of the 150th anniversary of BYU, we've been asked to have a conversation about the history, the state of BYU.
A, B, C mark, E mark.
Why were we chosen to participate in this conversation? Two things occurred to me. Both of us have served as president of BYU during the last 50 years. And both of us have served as members of the Board of Trustees of BYU, and beyond that as chairman of the important executive committee of the board.
We both did our undergraduate work at BYU, and we've both had children and now grandchildren who've done their undergraduate work at BYU. But for all intents and purposes, our journey to the 12 was through BYU.
We have both lived long enough to be witnesses of the last 50 years.
Yeah, we have lived it. Yeah, I'm more questionable than you are on that one. But did you dream that you were going to be the president of BYU someday?
No, it never occurred to me that I would be in most of the positions I've been in. Yeah. I've been drawn into things that I never dreamed I would do. How about you?
The answer for me is also no. I had a young man come and talk to me the other day and say, how can I do what you did? How can I follow your path up through religion and be president of BYU? I said, that is a hopeless question because I didn't plan it and I wouldn't know how to repeat it.
In my case, I felt as I enrolled at BYU that I was going to be a doctor. My father had been a medical doctor, and I took a zoology class as a freshman, and I wasn't more than a few weeks into a zoology class when I realized I wasn't cut out to be a doctor.
You weren't going to do that.
And I spent the next 3 years trying to figure out what I was going to do.
Well, I think the Lord does that with us, with all of us. I'd say that to our audience, whoever they are, that He casts us about. He moves us around. There's a learning there that you can't always get in a course or in a textbook. I think He exposes us to a lot of different things to say, this is more what you ought to do.
My legal training didn't begin with an aspiration to be a lawyer or a judge. In fact, I was majoring in accounting because I realized as I entered my junior year that I didn't have a good idea about what I should major in because I didn't have a good idea about what I was going to do with my life. I majored in accounting because I could see that I enjoyed that and I could put together a graduation on schedule.
Yes.
And it was only as I began my senior year that I gave thought to being a lawyer.
Let me add, President, to this our own academic training, but we both chose to teach at BYU. Out of our presidential years, I think you taught Book of Mormon on occasion, and I don't know what else, but did you enjoy an occasional moment as the instructor, as the professor?
I think I taught one undergraduate class, and I taught several classes in my legal specialty because we got the law school going while I was president.
That's right.
I was announced as president of BYU at the same time they announced that a new law school would be established. So my first and most important duty as president was to get a law school established, to get a library, to get faculty, to identify a dean, to identify a place where the students could meet. And I was grateful for that because it was something I knew how to do.
I came, thanks to you. I'll never forget the day you walked into my office and in 20 minutes had hired me to come and be the dean of religious education in that expanded program. I came back as a dean, which was an intimidating and overwhelming thing to do. I think the faculty in religion had agreed on basically not much, but one thing with two parts. The new dean would not be young, and he would not be an outsider. And so I came at 32, and I came from Salt Lake, never having been on the faculty in religion. So right at the outset, we defied their request for an older man and an insider. I was neither.
Well, whoever gave that prescription didn't make a convert out of me because I had come to be president from the outside and I was 38.
Well, I think it's fair to say that we're both BYU men from the ground up.
Indeed.
Let me ask this question, President. Pretty fundamental to the mission of BYU would be its spiritual obligation. Now, it is a university. We come there to study and to take degrees, and it's everything from art to zoology. But running through it is a foundation and a theme that these are children of God. We're to teach them for eternity. Education for eternity was a phrase that we use.
That challenge to have religion a dominant factor in university instruction is something that BYU has been living with and guided by in all of its 150 years.
Carl G. Mazer.
And coming as I did from a professor of law at a great university, I had no experience with balancing the spiritual.
Sure.
The rest of that I was familiar with, but it was a struggle for me all the time I served at BYU to watch the thermometer registering spiritual temperature.
Yeah.
But I think the university does it much better than I, in my struggles, was trying to do it.
If anything has dramatically affected and saved and encouraged the spirituality of our students, it's been the creation of student wards and stakes on that campus that allow these students to worship on Sunday and serve and be in a bishopric or be the Relief Society teacher or whatever. And that, I can't say enough about that institutional part of our mission and what President Wilkinson and others did to get that in the 1950s, I think, is when that came on. And I'm grateful for that. Anyway, it's a privilege to follow Dallin Oaks in anything, and I've followed you for so long. I love you like a brother. You are a brother.
And I love you. You've helped me solve a lot of problems that were my responsibility as well as yours. I think the other characteristic that is a powerful influence on the campus is the presence of returned missionaries or students studying to be missionaries. And the other thing about that is the impact of returned missionaries who've served in foreign lands, learned another language, and they crop up in all places in the university. And that is a powerful advantage that our church education system institutions have in the quality of education they can offer.
That's true. That's true. I think if we went to the books, I believe more than 50% of our student body, they are female. And I think that tide is rising everywhere in the nation. And if I can add, in professional schools. And we have justifiable pride in our professional schools, men and women, in those student bodies. We've got the law school that you began. You've got the Marriott School that began a little later, and we've just announced a medical school.
I saw a figure the other day that more than half of our current law school student body is women. I reflected on my own professional experience when I enrolled in law school at the University of Chicago in 1954. There were only 2 or 3 out of about 100 in the student body who were women.
Yeah.
2 or 3%. Now it would be a majority
Yes.
of those
Yeah, that's
enrolled.
true.
Also, in this last 50-year period, I was struck with a figure I saw the other day that BYU went from 125,000 living alumni as we began the 50-year period to 466,000 living alumni. That's a pretty good measure of the increasing prominence of BYU in the educational community.
Let me say this, if it isn't a forbidden topic in an academic discussion, our athletic programs, which have been stunning and continue to get better and better, ranking very highly, and I don't mean just football and basketball, I mean across a broad range of athletic programs. I would say about that every commentator I've heard on, excuse me, you'll all be patient with my voice, but at least I'm alive. I haven't heard a commentator from ESPN or any other major broadcast service that has not commented on BYU's alumni support in the stadium, in the stands. They say wherever you go with a BYU athletic team, you're going to count on supporters. They're going to be there cheering and waving and visible. And I think that's true. I got thinking about it. I don't think there's a school in America that has the built-in alumni support and visible athletic support that BYU has, wherever it goes.
In numbers and in quality.
In quality, and I confess I'm interested in athletics and sports, and so I do watch this. But our coaches, our assistant coaches, our trainers, the staff, as well as the players, are just increasing in every way, but particularly increasing in loyalty to the standards and the skill with which they take a higher and higher stand and position in the national assessment of such things.
There's another aspect of that. In the last few years, BYU has organized with their opponent schools, a school that hosts a BYU team, our opponents on the athletic field, but with our leadership, they become co-workers in humanitarian projects and other things that the local school wants to promote, and that very active BYU alumni and the cooperation of the team gets behind the local school.
Yeah, my guess is it currently is in President Reese's administration, but that more professional, less emotional tie that the two schools have, service, humanitarian, academic, that has bridged some potential problems that didn't turn out to be problems because the presidents could talk to each other. And we've avoided some problems that a lot of other universities faced because of this outreach that you've described. President, as we move to a close here, we will have had many of the exact same experiences, but we'll touch for a moment on differing views to show how broad a BYU education can be. My life was changed like a tsunami. It was a major, major reset in my life with eternal consequence. I'm bold to say the two decisions that I made that changed my life forever was to serve a mission and enroll at Brigham Young University. And those two set my course forever. When I was inaugurated, I was at the inaugural dance with Pat, whom I miss dearly, dearly, and can't say enough, as we both lost a spouse. But I was with her at the dance, the inaugural dance, and I looked out the east windows of the Wilkinson Center where the dance was being held. And I looked up on the hill, and the Y was lit. It was in a day that we didn't light it very often. It wasn't lit then like it is now. And my sweet little wife looked up at me and said, "They're lighting that for you." And I just wept like I am now. I just wept that a place I loved that much and a place to which I owed that much, and the friends that I'd made there that I loved so much. But I just wept over that outlined Y on the hill. And it still means that to me.
I am profoundly grateful to BYU for teaching me what an education was. It was in classes that I often could recognize having a profound effect on my life, whatever I chose as an occupation. And the example of that is my freshman English class. I can't think of any class I took at BYU as profoundly useful to me in the various things I have been asked to do in life, occasionally in community service and government occupations, such as being a law clerk in the United States Supreme Court. The freshman English class I had from Oriya B. Tanner was number one as I look back on the significance of introducing me to education, how to read, how to write, how to judge, how to use my time in the learning process. I look at that wonderful freshman English teacher as number one in my undergraduate experience. And the other number one was what I received in advanced understanding of the gospel in the various religion classes I took. I know that BYU is the Lord's university because it was established by a prophet. It has been carried on with prophetic leadership to this day, and it places the highest priority for its students and its faculty and its administration and its position in the community to furthering the ideals, the teachings, and the values of the gospel of Jesus Christ. That's what BYU means to me.